Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called The Kind That Know How to Throw Stones, written by HSKantyk. The Delta Corps and the Targeting System Support had been at war with each other before any member of the galactic community rose to the sky. Who made them? Why were they fighting? Nobody knew. Some old empires had made their computers a bit too smart, and that was all they needed. Since then, they had been doing the only thing they apparently knew. War. No contact, no attempt to communicate, nothing. You could intercept signals between some units or catch malfunctioning probe that forgot to self-destruct from time to time, but this was the only source of information that you could get. All they did know was fight, build, and expand, all in the name of this conflict. Everything else was irrelevant. They were considered a natural catastrophe. Every species that tried to stop them had been wiped out, the war being a balanced one. None of the synthetic empires could allow any annoyance to disturb them. They were simple and efficient. The entire nuisance was removed from existence. The galactic community soon learned how to deal with it. Do not interact with them. If one of the two was attacked, the other would use the advantage and win this eternal war. The fact that there were two of them was actually a blessing. If one was to disappear, the other would be free to conquer the whole galaxy, or the universe for all they knew. Since the conflict was balanced, it was also easy to defend against. If any tried to conquer someone's sector, a huge fleet was assembled and put in front of the invader, who would retreat in front of a possible Pyrrhic victory. They were efficient, but they were not smart. Not in the creative sense, at least. Searching for or attempting something new was too risky, requiring too much energy and resources. Or maybe creativity was never part of their program. They only improved designs that had been proven to work by observation or interaction, and they improved them greatly, to the point of perfection, until they got something more efficient or found a flaw, a weakness that an old design could exploit. Every new member of the galactic community was then warned, do not interact with them. Do not even try. And if you see them, flee. If not for your own safety, then do it for everyone else. Nothing changed until 8,000 years ago, before the humans left their cradle planet, when a Delta Corps cannon, or maybe a targeting system support one, who can tell, fired a projectile the size of a skyscraper at 1/25th the speed of light. This kind of weapon was becoming obsolete at the time in history, and as such, it missed the target. The projectile soon left the battlefield, with nothing to stop him or even slow him down. The Taloian system had a G-type star. The third planet was at a 1.002 Sun-Earth distance from it. Its rotation was stabilized by a moon. 3 continents were separated by oceans of water that had yet to see their first life forms. When they found it, humans could not believe how lucky they had been. It took them 150 years to turn this planet into second Earth, a true heaven, where ancient Earth species that were on the verge of extinction could thrive again. They could now use the second chance to do things right, with the knowledge of all their previous mistakes. Humans from every part of the Terran Federation dreamed to spend a few days of Earth's little sister, but rules were rules, and no more than 4 million people were allowed on it at any given time. It was a true jewel, the pride of the Federation, which invited all the other species of the galactic community to come and witness their success. To prevent pollution, almost every factory, plant, industrial facility, or hazardous material put on the moon. With such an amount of dangerous things in the same place, the moon had access to one of the best defense systems to shoot asteroids before they could do any damage. But asteroids don't go at 1/25th the speed of light. The projectile had been crafted and perfected for war. It had a stealth coating, and so surveillance satellites were only able to detect it 0.23 seconds before impact. The nuclear warhead's material inside the projectile had started deteriorating over thousands of years that it had traveled, but the impact was so powerful that it destroyed every protection the humans had laid to protect every dangerous reactor, device, or material. 0.17 seconds after initial impact, particles from the nuclear material the projectiles carried encountered the ones from the human facilities, sending everything into a giant chain reaction. 0.32 seconds after initial impact, the moon turned for a split second, into the brightest object the system has ever seen since the birth of its star. The moon lost a fifth of its integrity, in the form of two big chunks approximately the same size, a third massive one, and millions of pieces of debris. Her trajectory completely wrecked, the moon started to fall from orbit. 3 minutes after initial impact, the entire planet started evacuating, under the reign of the first wave of debris. They were going at such a velocity, hitting the planet's atmosphere at such a direct angle, that they exploded without damaging anything. But the deafening sound they made while crashing turned the entire sky into a thunder of fire. It was the herald of what was to follow. 50 million humans and other species of the galactic community managed to evacuate before the second and first real wave started. The shape of the smallest chunk made it spin faster and faster as it approached the planet, until it snapped in half, sending one part of it in an unstable orbit and the other at an angle that made it rebound against the atmosphere. This event turned it into millions of pieces of debris and sent a shockwave so powerful it triggered earthquakes, tsunamis, and killed every living being in a radius of 300 miles. At that point, every ship and every station in the system was aware of the situation and had sent reinforcements for evacuation. But it was all for nothing, as the entire sky had turned into a rain of fire. Nonetheless, hundreds of pilots dove into what the survivors would later name as the apocalypse to save what they could. Only 1 out of 10 made it alive and managed to save 1 million people. 9 hours, 12 minutes, and 32 seconds after initial impact, the second big chunk fell on the planet and hit the biggest continent. The impact reached the upper layer of the mantle, sending shockwaves of cataclysmic magnitude all over the planet, condemning every living being still present on it. 11 hours, 44 minutes, and 51 seconds after initial impact, the remaining half of the first chunk hit the massive lunar remnant, breaking it into 3 parts, sending one in an escape trajectory and the other 2 into the planet. The resulting impact ended what little stability the crust of the planet still had. 11 hours, 52 minutes, and 14 seconds. Chandni Rama, who had survived in an extreme Arctic shelter at the North Pole of the planet, sent her last transmission. She could be heard saying a prayer while the camera showed a wall of magma a mile high breaking out of the boiling ocean and coming in her direction. This is the last known human activity on the planet. 4 days, 19 hours after initial impact, a fleet comprised of all galactic community members that could make it in time watched us from afar as the moon finally fell on the planet. The event is recorded and transmitted all over the galactic network, and every human watches as their Garden of Eden turns into hell. What sin did they commit to deserve such a fate? They'd followed the rules, and for what? 350 million dead, not including all the species now extinct. There was nothing to do but mourn. The rest of the galactic community assured them there was no malice behind the projectile. It was just a stray shot, and the probabilities of it actually hitting anything relevant were so slim that it was almost unbelievable. They had just been unlucky. They then started to tremble as the humans asked to know more about their tormentor. They had trusted the galactic community, like everyone else, and did not risk anything by dealing with the crazy machines. Now they wanted to know. Now they wanted answers, and they would have them. The entire galactic community begged them not to seek revenge, that it would be for nothing. The Federation reassured them by explaining that they only wanted to prevent such an event from occurring in the future. Everyone was delighted at the idea, and the prospect that the humans would not wage a pointless war that could cost a lot to everyone was even more appreciated. As such, and to show their appreciation, every member enlisted in the project, the network of stealth probes between the machines and them. With the human leading the project, they made sure nothing could get through unnoticed, and even pushed for the design of a giant reactor able to change the trajectory of a stellar object the size of a moon to make sure this incident would never happen in the future. 10 galactic years later, the very unofficial meeting, composed of a representative from every member of the galactic community, took place in a secure area of the Great Assembly. "Greetings, everyone," started the host of the event. "We have gathered you under secrecy because we don't really know yet how to handle the information I'm going to reveal." A screen appeared behind him, showing the darkness of the universe, broken by the myriad of stars it contained. "Please pay attention to this sector here," continued the host while zooming between the tiny constellation of 5 stars. A 6th one appeared out of nowhere between them. "No, right, this doesn't look like a birth of a star," said the representatives. "Please enlighten us." This was taken by one of our surveillance probes. The light you just saw came from star CG28574 HYO. The only other way to see it in our space would be to go 1,200 light years away from it, because that's the time she has been vaulted inside the Delta's core Dyson sphere, a Dyson sphere that was destroyed approximately 7 years ago. Since it's a distance between our probe and the star, silence fell on the assembly. A Dyson sphere. Only the crazy machines had managed to create such a marvel, and not just one, but dozens of them. How did they do it? Maybe their creator had already made them, or maybe they just started snapping enough solar panels orbiting a star, improving the overall design until it surrounded it. It was a mystery, a spectacular mystery, and yet they managed to lose one. Isn't it bad news? Isn't the Delta Core going to lose after such a loss? How did they manage to lose a Dyson sphere? Asked another representative. Well, it is not a negligible loss. We have good reason to believe that the targeting system support has lost just as many. Now about how they do— Wait, what do you mean, just as many? Interrupted someone with a very concerned tone. The host waited for a few seconds before continuing. We repositioned some of our probes with FTL to get a better view of what happened. While doing so, we discovered a total of 17 other stars had surfaced from the sphere and, the whole assembly interrupted into chaos. Impossible! What kind of joke is this? This is the end. We're doomed. Doomed. How? I must go. My people need me. Only a few members remained calm. The human representative, Admiral Wilson, was amongst them. He patiently waited as the assembly slowly calmed itself after a screen changed view. It was now showing a strange sphere, or at least a rendition of it, probably because no light was coming out of it. We managed to slip one of our stealth probes above the targeting system support system that we suspect was holding one of the Dyson spheres, the host explained after everyone had calmed down. You're now looking, if such a word can be used for watching something that does not emit light, at it. They did not have a perfect view of the structure, but it was massive. How could such a thing be destroyed in once in place? And to answer the question from before, the reason for its demise is here. The view changed to show a tiny object, barely visible in the previous view, a mere speck of dust compared to the giant structure. It was spherical and could almost be seen normally in all this darkness, thanks to all the little light sources surrounding it, orbiting it, flashing briefly before disappearing. Are those tiny things capital ships? Asked the representative. Hold on. What size is that little sphere? What is that sphere? It's a dwarf planet, answered the host. Their Dyson spheres are massive objects, very resilient to normal attacks, but apparently they heavily rely on the overall balance of the structure. If you can send an attack powerful enough, the whole structure will fall. No ship or weapon in the universe can deliver such energy, but a dwarf planet at such speed. The video now showed a little planet hitting the giant structure, piercing it, letting light from the star appear from the hole. The shockwave takes days to travel all the way through the structure, damaging many systems until the critical amount is reached, and then, on the screen, the whole sphere collapsed, disappearing in the star in a matter of minutes. They're hurling dwarf planets at each other now. Well, that's just great. What are we supposed to do now? And how can't they figure out a way to counter this tactic? They built those spheres, right? The spheres can't be changed in such short notice. They are massive. Besides, not only are they very bad at designing new things, they have already lost too many resources on this. Trying something new would be too big of a risk, while spending the little they still have on trying to shut the other one down before he can do it to you is cheap. I mean, it's just propelling a big rock. Then how did they get the idea? We don't know. Randomness? Bug? Maybe they saw a moon crash on a planet. My deepest apologies, said the host, while noticing the Admiral. No offense taken, friends, said the Admiral. Everyone was watching him with what could be interpreted as pity in their body language. It is just as you say. We do not know. And since contact with them is impossible, we will never know. Our best course of action for now is to observe and collect more data. The question of how it started is irrelevant. It's not like one of the members of the community actually showed them how to do it, right? He ended his sentence with a laugh, and many of the representatives followed him with their own. He then stood up and started to leave, as many other representatives were doing so. He then froze up in front of the door. He turned back and stared at everyone. Unless, of course, they messed with the wrong people. You know, the kind that know how to throw stones. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.